Welcome back. This lecture will be about one of the most important things in all programming languages, and that is if-else statements, which allows us to take decisions with our code. So let's go do that. I already commented out the code from the last lecture and put our comment here to say that this one is about the if-else statement. Alright, so JavaScript, like most of the other programming languages in the world, has a couple of control structures. And these are features that allow us to execute only certain parts of our code or to execute some parts even multiple times. And the first control structure that we will talk about is the if-else statement. Okay, so first, to start, let's just recreate our variables. And so you're already gaining some practice here. So the age as well. And also a variable called isMarried, as we had before. And I will set it to a string this time. So not married. So I will now write an if-else statement. And let me just write it out first. And I will then explain to you what this does. So it goes like this, if, and then we have a condition here, and we say if married is yes, and then the curly braces, then we want to log to the console the name, which is John in this case, is married. And if not, which is the else part, then log to the console that John will hopefully marry soon. Okay, so what does this do? So this here is called the condition, and this condition needs to be evaluated to true so that this first part of the if statement gets executed. And if it's false, then the else part will get executed. And that's why we use this operator here. It's a new operator and it's a comparison operator. And what this does is to return a boolean, so a true or false value. So what we do here is to ask, is married equal to yes? And it's not, right? In this case, it's not, because isMarried is set to no and not to yes. So this will evaluate to false. Then will happen, or what we will see is, let's put this in a comment, if false. Because this evaluates to false, right? So if it's false, then this one here gets executed. So let's test this. And I will delete this because this was just to show you that the result of this part here is false. So I will execute, and we expect that the second part will get executed. And that's what happened. John will hopefully marry soon, because it was set to no. And if I now go ahead and set it to yes, then this will happen. So is married equal to yes? And then we say, oh yeah, it is, so it's true. And if this is true, then the first part of the statement, of the if-else statement, will get executed. So now we have John is married, or married. Great, so this is how the if-else statement works. So as you see, this allows us to take decisions with our code depending on some condition. Now let me change something here. So instead of having this is married set to yes like this, which doesn't make much sense, it could instead be a boolean. So we can make it like this, is false. And now we could simply have it like this, if is married, then console.log. Now I will just make it simpler here, or else console log no. No. So, and why does this work? It's because what the if-else statement wants here is a true or a false value. And now we simply gave it a Boolean, so false in this case. So we don't need any comparison operator like this, which will evaluate then to true or false, because we already put false in here in the first place. So all that happens here is that JavaScript figures out that this is false, and then we go right here into the else statement. So what is then printed to the console is this no here. Okay, so now you know how the if-else statement works. It's very simple actually, but it's very, very powerful, and we will use it a lot in our programming because we need to take decisions in our code all the time. And just let me tell you that this could be even easier. So for example, we could just have this part. So we don't necessarily need the else part in our code. So if we don't want to do anything else, we can just have the if statement without the else. So then in this case, nothing happens because it's false. So if we would change this to true, then the yes will be outputted, and all right, here it is. So the else is not really necessary, but in many cases we want to have it. And now just another very important detail, and that's about this comparison operator. There are actually two of them, this triple equal and the double equal. And the difference between them is that the double equal does type coercion and the triple equal does not. So let's see that in practice. And I'm sure that you remember what type coercion is. So I will do something like this. 23 equals 23. Now this looks a bit strange, right? So let me just write this part here, and then I will explain it to you. Just something to print. So once again, type coercion just means that JavaScript automatically and on the fly converts a variable from one data type to another one. And if we use these double equals here, then JavaScript is allowed to do this. So if it sees 23 the number equals to 23 the string. So let's just execute this, and then it prints this string here. So this means that JavaScript thinks that these two are the same thing. And that's because it does type coercion. So it simply converts this 23 to a string. And so they are the same thing effectively because of type coercion. Now if we add a third equal, which is what we did up here as well, then JavaScript does not do type coercion. So let's see how this works. And now in this case nothing prints, which means that this is false, right? Because if it would be true, then this print here would have happened. So now in this case JavaScript does not do type coercion, so it doesn't convert anything from string to number or number to string. So it sees the 23 as a number and the 23 as a string, and then it says, no, these are not the same thing, so this is effectively false. And so in order to avoid some difficult to find bugs, we usually always use the triple equal. So this is the more advanced comparison operator that we should always use and will always use throughout this course. I just thought it would be important to mention this because in lots of tutorials you actually see it like this. So the more traditional comparison operator, but these days it's more common to use it like this because, as I said, it's better and because it's safer. Okay, that's it for the basics of the if-else statement, and in the next lecture we will continue to talk about this topic. Okay, so let's move on right now.